Welcome to the channel Doctor of Life. If you like the idea of the channel and benefited from it, do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive all new. The approach of the Qur'an and Sunnah in building a scientific mentality. Since the dawn of Islam, Muslims have been concerned with understanding what the Book of Allah has brought after they have believed in it knowingly and insightfully, through proofs that begin with sense and end with conviction. And between sense and conviction are broad areas that expand the chances of thinkers from reason, methods of handling, and talent data. True knowledge must begin with the sense, the ability of the mind to settle down, and its balanced authority that facilitates its transition in tranquility to the imperceptible, and this is what Islam has taken as a method and a way to reach the end, as it was the safe harbor that the conscience of Muslims was assured of at the dawn of Islam. The Quran has come up with a wonderful approach in its use of rational and demonstrative evidence in presenting issues of faith. Whoever contemplates the verse of the Holy Quran can see that it has included a clear method of mental proof of the mothers of matters of faith, a fact confirmed by the public of Muslim scholars. 1. The Islamic faith has been characterized by being suitable for both instinct and reason, as it does not contain blindness like other beliefs, but it is crystal clear, and by invoking it and understanding its purposes, the Muslim lives in happiness that is not matched by happiness, and therefore we find mental illnesses far from the middle of the religious people connected to their Lord, so we do not need to look and reflect on the verses of the Holy Quran to find out, because there is no doctrinal issue presented by the Holy Quran but its century with the evidence of its truthfulness and proof of its definitive certainty and its significance. Every researcher must not neglect to draw attention to the contents of the Quranic text of mental proof related to the subject he is talking about, especially here related to the subject of belief in the occult and its evidence, because this aspect was and is still a subject of controversy between religious thought and philosophical thought. 2. Therefore, God created man and deposited in him the instinct of curiosity in order to be able to enlighten him with his mind, a huge lesson that organizes and runs this wonderful universe and the spacious horizon, and created man according to rules and systems, not randomly and improvisation, and it is not surprising that the creation of man is linked to science, and science is the creation of man, as mentioned in the early Meccan surah, and the first thing that was revealed from the Quran was his saying, Almighty, read in the name of your Lord who created man from suspended reed, and your noble Lord who taught with a pen taught man what he did not know. Leeches, 1-5. As well as in the beginning of Surah Al-An'am al-Madani, Ar-Rahman, the science of the Quran, the creation of man, his knowledge of the statement, Ar-Rahman, 1-4. The place of man in the Quran is the most honorable place for him in the balance of faith and in the balance of thought, and in the balance of creation by which the natures of the being are weighed among the general beings. 3. And he has placed before his sight, insight, sense and conscience the signs of divine power, to reflect on them, to insight, consider and reflect, and this has been one of the reasons for scientific development throughout the ages and the succession of ages, in the life of all mankind. The entire development, and through successive stages, should be considered a single process, but it changes over time, which led to a great and amazing development in all fields of science, in order to clarify what was mentioned in the saying, Almighty, from Surah Al-Alaq, teach man what he did not know, Al-Alaq, 5. The path to the supremacy of truth, in the field of faith, begins, according to the Quranic guidance, with contemplation of the tangible reality within the divine creatures in which the wisdom of the wise and knowledgeable Maker is manifested, which is confirmed by a number of verses, such as the saying of God Almighty, say, walk on the earth, and see how creation began, and then God establishes the afterlife, God is Almighty over everything, Surah Al-Ankabut, 20. Or by contemplating the tangible reality of the effects of previous nations and their drawings, those that indicate the bad consequence for those who rejected the truth in their faith and based it on the falsehood of polytheism, which is confirmed by another number of verses, such as the saying of Allah Almighty, say, walk on the earth, and see how the punishment of criminals was, Al-Imran, 137, 4. The Quran's approach to instilling faith is characterized by using various persuasive methods, employing history, tangible reality and simple mental evidence, resorting to addressing human instinct, and replacing the method of indoctrination and cold mathematical mental perception, the method of education and arousing conscience and enthusiasm that move the reasons for faith and prove belief and certainty, in addition to the practical and realistic treatment that the Quran did not miss the opportunities to exploit and talk about the truths of faith through its interaction with them. 5. The Holy Quran addressed man as a whole, which consists of the soul, body, and mind, as the Quran was concerned with developing the human ability to look, meditate, reflect, because this is what qualifies him to carry the burdens of the message of Islam and the call to God, and this is an authentic Quranic requirement. Therefore, the Holy Quran has developed a curriculum for mental education, and the most important points of this curriculum are: 1. Stripping the mind of postulates based on conjecture, or dependency and imitation. 2. Obliging the mind to investigate and verify. 3. Inviting the mind to contemplate and meditate on the laws of the universe. 4. Inviting the mind to meditate on the wisdom of what God has decreed. 5. Inviting the mind to look at the Sunnah of God and people throughout human history, so that the beholder can learn about the history of fathers, grandfathers, and ancestors, and reflect on the laws of God in nations, peoples, and countries. Invitation to reflect on the horizons. The Holy Quran has called on man to look at the horizons of the universe around him, to reflect on the blessings of God, and to read the page of the universe open to him. In the Holy Quran, more than 1,000 verses talk about the features of this universe, and mention its vocabulary from the heavens and the earth, the sun and the moon, the planets and stars, the mountains, the seas and rivers, the rain, thunder and lightning, etc. And if these verses have mentioned these words in the context of drawing attention to the manifestations of the power of God, the Almighty in creation, an indication of the oneness of the Creator, Almighty, and prove the issue of the resurrection denied by the disbelievers, they nevertheless came in a style and phrase that opens up wide horizons for the human mind to think about its implications through successive eras after the revelation of the Quran, so that he has these connotations in every age that testify to the truth that came with it. In our time, in a few tens of years, compared to the extended history of mankind, scientific discoveries concerning the universe have reached in its horizons, and in the souls of its creatures what they have never reached before. 6. Islam, science development and scientific research. Many Meccan and civil verses, as well as hadiths of the Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, included the importance of knowledge and reflection and the virtue of scholars in this world and religion, and that they are the heirs of the prophets, in appreciation of their role and in honor of their giving to the good of humanity and the progress of nations, and their understanding in matters of their religion and world. Dear viewers, we've reached the end of this episode. I wish success to all, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so that you receive everything new to the next meeting.